Welcome back to Minecraft, and this is something new for me actually, and the sound is bugged, and I'm going to post-commentate. And so, if it's a bit sketchy on the commentation, I apologise, but we'll see how we get on. And yeah, we'll start off just picking up some materials so that we can carry on with what we left off on the last episode when we went to Nether. So here I'm going to pick up some of the Ardite and the Cobalt that we picked up when we were going mining before with our previous pickaxe. And heading off into the smeltery room. And yeah, it's pretty simple. We just prep this up and adjust it so we can make a pickaxe here. And just to get started, we'll get our ores inside the smeltery. And yeah, just as per usual, we're going to place both the Ardite and the Cobalt inside our smeltery to be cooked up. And we're planning on making is Manulian, and Manulian is extremely strong material, and is one of the strongest materials in the game to be able to make a fantastic pickaxe. My previous pickaxe, although I had it reinforced and we added haste and durability to it, we'll do a similar thing here. And yeah, picking up our our tool rod cast, our pickaxe head, and our tool binding cast, and get those into the tables ready to go while we're cooking everything else up. So once those are preloaded, and we'll pick up the ingot cast in case there's any spare materials left over. And yeah, it'll be a case of waiting for these to cook. They'll take a little while to do. Cobalt and Ardite, as they're quite hard metals, they do take some time. So I skipped ahead here, and we've got them ready to go. And any moment now you'll see it all turn into liquid, and they should be good. And any moment, there we go. Cobalt's done, and the Ardite's done. And hitting the taps here, we fill up our casts as per usual. And we've got ourselves a rather funky material to be building our tools with. And I think I placed the ingot cast in here just to grab any extra of the ore. As you can see, we've got a few extra here. Let's see, maybe just the two. Yep, just the two extra ingots that we pick up. And just tidying up, and there's our Manulian ingots that we've just made from Manulian pick. And you can see here that go to the tool station, and as long as I select the pickaxe here, there we go, and grab our pickaxe head, the rod and the casting, we get ourselves a really nice and fast and durable Manulian pickaxe. You can see here there's 3 modifiers that we can add to this. And right away we'll go and adjust it. And one of the first things that we'll do is try and increase its durability. You can see here I've shown that I've got a fortune pickaxe, so I don't really need another fortune axe. I've got the auto smelting pickaxe as well, which I keep handy for when I'm doing anything mining in the overworld. But this is a good all-round pickaxe that I normally use for like cobblestone, to just get through, and I use it for when I'm out in the Nether too, just because of it's able to pick up more Ardite and Cobalt. And the speed of it is just fantastic. It lasts forever. It's very easy to repair. Yeah, it's just a all-round great pick. And as I say, in my opinion, it's one of the best pickaxes that you can make for just everyday use. So here I go. I've adding redstone to it to speed it up even further, and you can see that the mining speed is increasing even further with our haste. And just 5 more redstone here, which I'll pick up here, and that will round it out to the fastest that I can make it using this. So now we've got a mining speed of 30, and now I could have added another modifier of redstone to speed it up even further, but here I choose to do diamond. With the diamond here, you can see that the durability is now increased up to 3,500. And I think what I also go ahead here and do is pick up the large plate head from and obsidian ingots. And I actually there we go. Here's our large plate pattern. It requires 8 obsidian ingots, and that gives us our large plate. And put this back in its chest, and the rest of the obsidian back, and modify once again our pickaxe. And you can see here that it adds a reinforced X plus, which I just believe it's increases its durability even further. I'll try and name it here, but for some reason that didn't pick up and didn't work, which is a shame. I think I just needed to hit enter here on the on the tool station so that it actually picked up the name, but it doesn't matter now. But either way, we've got ourselves a very good pickaxe to go ahead and use for any future mining trips that I have here. And I think this episode is really going to mostly be about cleaning up a lot of that straggling ends that we had, to be able to start thinking about doing more tech builds. So far we've mostly been doing the basics of each of a lot of the mods, but what I really want to get into is getting a lot of that covered. And here I come out here and show the speed of this new pickaxe, and you can see how fast it chews through that cobblestone, and does the same, a little bit slower on the coal, but still extremely fast. Tinker's Construct is definitely a good mod to get into, and it's so cheap to get into the first basic step, so use those books that you're given when you start the map and get started in Tinker's Construct. It is great. I'm hoping in a future episode that I show a more automated smeltery. It's a design that I'm working on right now. Probably to go into Holy Gun's base, so that's something to look forward to. And but for a little while at least, I think we've finished up with our smeltery, as that's got most of our that's the best metals that we can use. There's a few tools that are worth using. They've got like excavators that are very good, and scythes, so that's worth checking out. And here I'm going to pick up some materials because I plan on doing in this episode some more thermal expansion. You saw in the thermal expansion room at the beginning of the episode that I've got the powered furnace. We've got our pulverizer in there, so I really wanted to round that out with a few more machines that I had everything I needed to start going with further tech builds. That includes upgrading our power supply with our cables, which at the moment we're using Buildcraft cables. And I think straight away here we're going to move on to one of the first new machines, which is the induction furnace. Now, induction furnaces are strange. They need Invar ingots to be able to make. And when you start looking up the recipes through NEI and you look at Invar ingots, you find that right away it looks like you're going to need an induction smelter to be able to even make it. You see here with iron and ferrous ingots, you get Invar ingots. Now, you can't really obviously use the induction smelter to make an induction smelter because it's a bit of a loop, and it does confuse people in how you do that. So here I'm going to show you how to make Invar ingots, and you can do that using an Invar blend. And as before, you had 2 iron and 1 ferrous, but in this case we can just do it in a shapeless crafting bench with just the dust. So what I'm going to do is start pulverizing our iron and our ferrous to be able to make that happen. So yeah, a little bit of each just to get the material started, turning on the engines to make sure I've got the power. And we'll be making short work of the pulverizing here. There we go. And same here for the ferrous ingots, they're pulverized up. And I should be able to blend those together now and make some ingots out of it. I'll end up having some spare materials here that I'll need to sort out later, but yeah, there isn't that much recipes with Invar ingots. You don't need to go too over the top. And I think here I'm about to prep putting those blends together. The induction smelter is used extensively. It's used for combining metals. You can combine it with sand to double ores, and you can also use slag instead of sand to help double the ores. And you can also use rich slag, which is a rare commodity you get out of gold, to be able to triple some ores. So there you saw I make a bucket which goes into the recipe of the smelter, and I've got myself some Invar blend. These will need to be cooked in the powered furnace, as you can see. So keeping the engines on. And now we need a redstone reception coil and machine frames. Now these two tend to form the backbone of most machines that you make from thermal expansion, and indeed some other mods have now used this thermal expansion method and will also use these conductance coils and these machine frames. So you'll see these recipes come out quite a few times. Don't be afraid to make extra reception coils or machine frames when you're doing these builds, because you will end up using them at some point. So if you make too many, that's fine. And looks like I've forgotten something here. I can't really remember what I forgot, but I've picked up some sand. I'm missing some glass. I see. Yep, that will be for the machine frames that I've noticed I don't really have enough. Because I wanted to make several at once to be able to make a lot of machines here, which I had planned. But so far I'll just start off with the 2 machine frames while the glass is cooking. And we should be able to make this machine very soon. It looks like I've forgotten some other material here, so we picked up some copper to do it. Now in this episode I remember I forget materials a lot. I'm just such a scatterbrain when it comes to this kind of thing. So there's a bit of back and forth from chess as I keep forgetting items, so I apologise for that. But here we've got all the materials we need now to make our induction smelter. And the induction smelter, I'm just going to dig out here, add some of the gold conductivity cable from Buildcraft just while we're waiting on making stuff, and I realise fairly quickly that I actually don't have any left, and instead I go ahead here and make some more using our gold, some glass that I had, and combining that with redstone. Realising I probably need 8, I put some of those materials back, combine that with the redstone here to turn them into conductivity cables, as you'd expect. So now if I place these wires down, and now I end up doing a lot of tidying up between episodes, just to round out the layout of this room a little bit, just but while I'm recording I tend to, just go ahead and show very quickly. And but here we go, here's our induction smelter that's now powering up from the engines. And I turn off the rain here as it was being noisy, but with the sound as it is, it probably didn't need too much. I know you can hear it, the Minecraft sounds did record, so okay. So now that the induction smelter is now warmed up, I can now think about making my next machine. So I come through here and I'm looking up a liquid transposer. Using the redstone reception cores, copper, glass and buckets from before, I'm going to make this fairly quickly. I have to remember each time, even though I do this a lot in this episode, is that make sure that you have your crafting bench open as you try and shift click, otherwise it doesn't work. And I know that I end up doing this several times of making the mistake. But here we go, the liquid transposer. I think I've got all the materials I need. I've got 2 glass, so just shift click that into the recipe. Go on fire, you've got the stuff. For some reason I think it's not working, but it would have done. As I say, it was mostly due to the way I put that together with not shift clicking with the minion stone open. Confused me a bit there. But the liquid transposer is now done. Now, a liquid transposer is used to place liquids inside an object of some kind. So here I pick up the magma crucible, and the magma crucible, although I do have nether bricks that we picked up on our nether trip, I actually go ahead here and show a different way of making nether bricks in case you don't find the fortress when you make your first trip. So here what I've done is place netherrack into a furnace, and now netherrack can be cooked into nether brick, and we'll use those nether bricks to be able to put this machine together. And hopefully it doesn't take too long to cook. Knowing that I need another bucket, I grab that very quickly with the iron, and hopefully we've got all our invar ingots ready, nether bricks ready, and combine those in a 4x4 and you get the standard nether brick that you'd expect and you pick up from a fortress. The magma crucible is used to turn things into liquid, so you can take redstone and turn it into liquid redstone. You can take ender pearls and take those into liquid ender pearls. You can take netherrack and turn it into magma, which is also very useful at times if you need a way of getting lava. Hence the name magma crucible, because you can use it to make the lava. And it looks like I will notice in a moment that I didn't make myself a machine frame, so putting those together here, there's our machine frame going together, and hopefully I had the rest of the materials, which I did. And our final machine, our magma crucible. The liquid transposer and magma crucible work very much hand in hand, so I tend to try and put the 2 machines next to each other. So here I'm looking around thinking, oh, I've messed that up, I don't have 2 slots next to each other. So I think in a moment I'm going to remove the extra powered furnace on the right hand side, and rewire a little bit our conductance cables just to get that under the floor. And although I created a power loop here, it is something I fix right away. And just finishing up here with the last conductive pipe. Tidying up a little bit with the concrete, and then I can place our liquid transposer right next to our magma crucible, like so. There we go. Not particularly happy about feeding the power through the front of the machine here. I decide to move the conductive cable just one further back. As I say, between episodes this room gets tidied up anyway. And these machines do actually require quite a hefty amount of power to run, and especially the magma crucible. So I guess when I start actually using them, I end up turning more engines on just because of sheer volume. And I've decided that I'm going to want to make liquiducts for a future build. And with our hardened glass that we're going to need is part of the liquiduct recipe. It's something you end up making a lot, and here we need pulverized obsidian and some lead. So I'm going to grab some obsidian from our storage room here. Now I'm not sure how much obsidian I had left over. 15 looks like that's a fair amount. And grabbing our ore chest and look for some lead. Fantastic. So I end up having to make quite a bit of hardened glass in this episode, so I think I end up coming back to do even more. Mistakenly pulverized the lead, and I meant to pulverize the obsidian. Realised my mistake and recook the lead. Lucky I didn't lose anything from that mistake except for a bit of power. But good, I've got some extra glass as well, which will also end up coming in useful. So now you take this pulverized obsidian, place it into the induction smelter with that lead as you saw before, and we're going to find ourselves with a couple of pieces of hardened glass. And knowing that I'm going to need quite a bit more liquiducts, I go ahead and grab the remaining of our pulverized obsidian here. And carry on and go ahead and cook that all up. Okay, looks like I've got our machine there feeding into our pulverizer, which will be a problem, so I changed the configuration here just to remove it, and then I can just use the induction smelter on a purely manual basis. Now I can automate it if I wish, if I need to do it later, but I actually tend to use the induction smelter in a manual way for the most part. I think on our last season you did see me automate an induction smelter or a series of induction smelters to be able to increase our ores from our mining last season. And so here I explain that gold conductivity cable is not really the best cable in the game. It has improved, it no longer explodes, the loss of power is minimized, but just in terms of being able to use it, I've always preferred the energy conduits. But here actually I changed tack. So to go with our liquiduct, I decided to build an aqueous accumulator, and this aqueous accumulator uses pneumatic servo, some tin, and I'll probably end up going back and forth a little bit as I forget materials. So here I pick up some of the tin I need, that's good. And oh god, creep out. Thankfully my force sword is very strong. I'm a bit worried that there's a dark spot up there, as that's where the creepers spawned. I'll have to check those out at some other point. Now in the meantime, this aqueous accumulator is used to produce water. Now most people know how to make infinite water anyway, so this turns out to be not too overpowered as a block. And what you can do is you place it down with 2 water sources next to it, and it will go ahead and create water. Now you can place an aqueous accumulator down on its own, and I think it generates water very slowly indeed. You can place it next to 1 water source block and it will generate water at a little faster pace. But if you put it next to 2, you get it at its maximum speed. that's often used to cool engines down. Because you don't ever want an engine to overheat, you use an aqueous accumulator to make sure that you're constantly feeding water to cool an engine. But for many builds you will find that an infinite water source is going to be rather handy, so you have to get used to making aqueous accumulators. They will definitely be used a fair amount. Clearing up that recipe there just to make that bucket that we need. And there's our aqueous accumulator, and I'll be using that I think between episodes actually, which I end up showing you how that's put together. But basically I will be using it to feed water into I think I put them into the force engines. Force engines at the moment are running dry with just the force energy, and if you add water into them, then you increase their power, and if you add milk, you increase their power even further. If you add lava, I think it's even faster. So just because I don't have this stuff set up for milk and lava, I'm going to use that with water. So here I'm looking at a redstone energy cell. Redstone energy cells are used to as a battery, so it's a bit like the bat box we made for our IC2 episode, and this time we're needing electrum to make a different type of coil, and you basically have two different types of coils. You have well, I think there might actually be three, but I can't remember the third one. So you have like a redstone conductance coil, and you have a which is used to draw power into a machine. So any machine that requires power, you have a redstone conductance coil in. Any machine which is set to give power, like in this case, like the it's energy cell here, you use the other type of coil. We pick ourselves out some more hardened glass, because we're going to need to make a frame to place our energy cell into as well. So again, knowing that I'm going to need to pulverize a lot more obsidian, I go pick up the rest of our obsidian, and for some reason I decide not to add those. I'm not sure why. I'd actually end up needing quite a lot of obsidian in the end, but at least we got our electrum ingots, and you can see that's the conductance coil. That's the redstone conductance coil there, to be able to power up our energy cell. Electrum is also used for the conductivity cables, so I always carry quite a bit of the electrum ingots, and make sure you've got some of that stored. It's going to be used quite often to power your everything. And here I've forgotten my diamond, I think, for my energy frame, so it's in actually the next chest, the shinies chest, and I've realised that fairly quickly. And yeah, 26 diamonds. Often I always mistake thinking it's in the ores chest, and I panic thinking someone's stolen all my diamonds. It's actually in the next chest over. But in a episode to come, I actually fix that as well. That might actually be in our next episode. I can't remember. I've recorded a few. I always record a few episodes ahead, and I think I fix our storage in our next episode. You can see here that even though we've got the power's been left running, that our induction smelter is running low. Now these machines, they'll change their speed based on how much power. It's true of all thermal expansion machines, so that the less power you have, the slower they'll run. It's their way of trying to conserve energy. But the more power that you can feed into it, the faster they'll go. And so if you can have a battery storing the power, then you can always keep them topped up without having to worry about switching on and off engines all the time. So here I've got my empty cell frame, which I've just crafted. And to do our next step, we need to fill it up in the liquid transposer, and in this case we need redstone. So I can take our liquid transposer and place our energy cell, and we need to fill it with our redstone, and we're going to use our magma crucible that we've just built, cook up the redstone here, and I will end up needing a lot more redstone. Now I realise afterwards, although it's slower, I prefer to actually craft the redstone into its cube form and cook up that way, because I find it's just easier to keep track of how much you need. So realising I need more redstone, I go ahead and grab some of that. And I can't remember if I intended to make 2 batteries. I thought I did. So you might see me make 2 of these batteries in the end. I'm just going ahead here and filling up. Now you need quite a lot of redstone to fill in this energy cell here, and not quite half that bar full, but you'll see just as it reaches the next point here that it's going to start transposing this liquid into our cell frame. So just I think the next tick of redstone does it, and very slowly it fills up our frame with our redstone, and we can finish off making our battery. Now these batteries are quite good. You can change their inputs and outputs, so you have a little bit more control. So I tend to keep the inputs always at 100 MJ, which is their maximum on each redstone, and their maximum on their output is 100 MJs. Now sometimes I will turn that down if I don't want to overload a system I'm doing, but most of the time you can keep it on 100 MJ output, and that's fine too. So here we go, finishing off the last. I think I'd go ahead make myself a second one, as I said. Realizing again I need more diamonds, but to be fair I should have used my minion stone here. There we go. And get myself a second energy cell frame and place that to be filled with redstone as well. And I check to see how much redstone I've got ready to go. I realise that this is draining power massively. I turn on a few more engines. And see that now I've turned on 3 engines, it's able to actually keep up a little better. And you can see its maximum power is 40 MJ per tick, so that's quite a a heavy power consumption that you can get off of this. You can see its power usage is going up, so as mentioned before, that the more energy you have, the more energy it will use to speed up the machine. So as it's using more power usage here, it's speeding up our machine quite nicely, and it will tend to equalize itself out against the power that you're putting in. And yeah, here I'm waiting for this process to be finished. Excuse me, my throat's getting a little dry. But we finish crafting here our second energy cell, and yeah, I'm going to make a few minion stone derps here, as I realise that I don't necessarily have everything that I was supposed to have here. So picked up the lead. Lead's obvious for batteries, using batteries in real life too, so that's good. And we're just picking up another energy cell to make ourselves a second one, which I'm hoping to put together. So I'm just going to power up this redstone energy cell here, just to show the power going in and being stored. And you can see from the middle bar here that there is power. Now, one thing that's very good about redstone energy cells is that you can break them and it will keep the power that's within the energy cell. So here I break this just to show on camera, and we'll place it down, and you can now see that even though it's disconnected from the power, we actually have power stored, which is very good for powering up remote builds. If you take your energy cell, power them up at base till they're full, then you can take them to a remote location, say to an oil well, and then use a pump to or power a pump to grab the oil. You don't have to worry about sending cables or taking engines all the way out to your mining well, if that's what you're trying to get done in a remote place. So yeah, definitely useful. I quite often use them for powering fillers at times, and I've got my second one here, which I've now made. And these engines, now that I'm finishing up, I can now switch these up. So I'm going to finish up the episode just by thanking you all for joining us. As per usual, leave a comment, subscribe, like. We're loving the comments that you're sending us our way. So I've been Fireweaver. Thank you very much for joining us. Goodbye.